Hey there, restaurant pros. David Scott Peters here, creator of the Restaurant Prosperity Formula and your coach. We've had another big week. Remember, we're calling this week 6. This is after the state started shutting down one after another, our rules of business changed. And if you've been following me, you've seen I've gone from an extremely somber, depressed mood, just like you as operators, to upbeat, positive, understanding that we have real opportunity for us. Those restaurants that are still open, those that have learned to pivot, to change their business, figured out a way to run leaner, you're in a position to really crush it. Why? Look, I'm going to tell you right now, I have no data to support what I'm about to say, but I'm going to tell you, I think 25% of all independent restaurants don't reopen. Like they were crushed in the first 2 weeks because of cash flow. We're a cash flow business. So sales were here, payroll was here, right? Food purchases were here. Then overnight sales drop and we got to pay the bills for when our sales were high. And we just didn't have the cash in the bank to be able to handle that. Now, we've seen changes. We're going to talk about how we pivoted our business and what we needed to do. And the purpose of today's presentation, if you will, this live, this recording for those of you who watched later, is we know that COVID-19 is here, right? We felt the isolation, we felt the closing down our business, we felt the fear, all the things that go out there. And depending on who you believe on television, whether this is going to go away like this, or we're flattening the curve, or we're going to have a second or third round, I don't know. There's so much uncertainty out there. And I'm certainly not a scientist, and I'm certainly not a politician. And so somewhere I find comfort in the middle. And my goal is to help you survive this. My goal is to help you change. Because for many of us, this is the actual opportunity to change your business forever for the good. We can throw away all the bad operating practices. Because if you think you can go back to the way things were 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, and operate tomorrow the same way, you're crazy. Why? We're going to talk about that in a second. But here's the deal. I've been talking to restaurant owners all week long, every week. I have on my site the ability to have a 30-minute free coaching call with me. And I can't tell you, countless people have taken me up on it. And I will tell you at the end of the call, I also tell them about what I have to offer and what I do as a restaurant coach. And one of the things that I hear from a lot of people is, dude, I need you. I want to work with you, and I can't wait to talk to you again. But I got to wait till after this COVID-19 thing is over. I got to wait till this COVID-19 thing is over, right? The restrictions on us. Wait a second. Is there an after? Is there really an after? I want you to think about it. I really want to talk about, a new perspective, basically, on running your restaurant, what we have to think about. Because there is no after. If you follow any of the news channels, I don't care which news channel you follow, the experts, the medical people, the scientists are telling us until we have a vaccine, this ain't going away. And we could very well see this fall having a double-edged sword, right? The double whammy, the flu and COVID-19. And we sit there and go, wait a second, until there is a vaccine, something to protect us, this isn't going away necessarily. And then depending on the state you're in, whether you truly are able to phase open, or as we've noticed, again, don't care what political side of the fence you live on or where you are in your business life. Looking at Georgia reopening scares the hell out of me. They're a hot spot. They're trending up. They're not even following the president's task force recommendations of flattening the curve for 2 weeks, right? Things that don't extend. So now we sit there and say, okay, well, we're not only trying to get open in a tough time, but we've got all these things we've got to talk about. How are we going to get food? What's going to happen to our menus? What about our employees that are on the dole? And I want to talk about that first. I'm going to pivot what I was going to originally talk about to something else in the beginning here. So I want to talk about the PPP loan. I want to talk about the Small Business Aid Program. I want to talk about the EIDL program, right? The loan program. And that's this. We know that the loans were so popular that many of you got in line for the loans And because you didn't have a bank relationship, you got screwed. You didn't get any money. Because you weren't one of the big corporations that filed early because they had a bank relationship, you got screwed, right? The Shake Shacks of the world, the Ruths Chris of the world got the money. And I can't tell you the social media outcry from independent operators. Those people, they were texting me. They were asking me to sign petitions. They were pissed off because they were bypassed, because many restaurants don't have a banking relationship because we were running our very best to not owe anybody any money. But when you shut down sales like that, you put yourself in that position. So everything dried up. And then what did Congress do this week? As they played games with us, again, I just want to be clear. I'm a dissatisfied American. Don't care if you're far right, far left, center. I think they're all idiots and they've all screwed the pooch. They have made it so difficult for us to operate. Now, look, I'm not saying they shouldn't have shut down everything and saved people's lives, because quite honestly, I'm leaning towards saving the lives. After the first 2 weeks crushed our industry, let's at least save some lives at this point in time. And do know, I'm one of those risk, maybe because I'm one of those people that's in the risk. 2 years ago, I had a heart attack. I'm 53 years old. Now, I don't know about you, but if you put that in the back of your brain, you look at the risk people, it's like, I'm not really excited about sitting in a restaurant, going out in public, doing those things. There's a little bit of fear that goes there because I'm at a high risk. But so now let's talk about this PPP. We refunded it, meaning refunded. They funded it again, right? Better English. They put $310 more billion into the PPP program. And they're promising to follow in order. They're promising to open the doors a little bit more. Then they added for underserved communities, really small banks, areas that really need the help, a special small business aid program with $60 billion with a B, $60 billion to really target those companies with fewer than 50 employees in neighborhoods that may not be so well off and so on. I applaud that. I think that's great. They added more money to the EIDL program, right? This is the damn near free money. Yes, the PPP should be free money if it's done right, but the EIDL has no restrictions on how you use the money. And they just funded another $60 billion where you can borrow money and pay it off in 30 years at a 3.75% interest rate. Like that's money that we all, if we could get in line and grab, what the hell, I'll take it, right? Wait a second. Should everybody have the PPP? So let's talk a little about this. I'm going to move this over from another monitor on the screen. I'll make this larger for us to see. This literally, here's my cell phone. Okay, this is on my cell phone. This literally 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, came on my phone. So Restaurant Business Magazine put out an e-newsletter to me and kind of announced this, and I came to their website. So this is literally my phone. And it says, financing, Ruths Chris to return its PPP loans as feds update the rules. So we already know that Shake Shack, right? Danny Meyer gave back. There was pressure there. Yes, he's kind of like a saint in our industry, right? Everybody thinks, well, Danny Meyer's, he's the guy, and I truly respect him. But the truth of the matter is, it had to be some pretty big pressure. Big companies like a Shake Shack get money. Well, Ruths Chris was not going to give the money back. They said, hey, we followed the rules. Those are the rules. And certainly did. But based on all this pressure, we come down here and it says, let me go down here. All right, so here's the deal. In its guidance, the Treasury Department noted that borrowers must certify their loans request is necessary to support the ongoing operations. And they think that's going to be difficult for them to do it. The other part is, and looking over here, there's this thing that says any publicly traded company may not, oh yeah, I got to play words with friends. That's fun. May not qualify. So they're already, and we've already had that challenge, right? The rules have changed week after week after week. So now my heart goes out to a Ruths Chris, says, hey, I followed the rules. I got the money. Now, I don't agree they should have taken the money in the first place. I don't agree that they should have had an opportunity to get the money. That's not my call. Those were the rules. So sometimes the rules are the rules. They took the money. But now I hope they didn't spend the money, because they're probably going to have to give it back, along with another, I think it was 8 other publicly traded companies in the article, are probably going to be forced to give the money back. Now, imagine the PR damage that was done for them. And oh, by the way, while I support independent restaurants, you are my world. The truth is, those restaurants do employ families, right? Real people. They do support real communities. The only difference is, I don't know about you. I've got a group of old members, friends of mine, or restaurateurs, probably a dozen of them at this point, that I see on Facebook doing live. They are feeding the first responders. They're collecting money, donating their time and product for first responders, pulling up the hospitals one after another. Have I seen a major corporation do that? No. It's us, we, the small business people of the world, the independent operators that are out there supporting your communities. So yeah, I want to see that money go. And I'm going to tell you, I'm disappointed. I thought there was going to be a bailout specifically for the hospitality industry. And if you follow the news, you know that the National Restaurant Association is trying to work on and lobby for a relief program. But I do want to throw out, where the hell is this money coming from? We have over 26 million people filed for unemployment so far. Who knows what this week has brought, right? And where is this money coming from? Now, granted, we need it. They stopped the economy, but they had to save lives. So, I don't know. So maybe you're one of the lucky ones. You got your PPP funds. But you got to have a 75%, get back up to 75% of that payroll, and it'll be forgiven. You can use 25% for rent and utilities, but you better get up to 75% of the payroll of that number where you started from before, your average payroll, or you're going to owe money. Now look, if you can get to 75% payroll, it's free money. Yes, you can get people working, doing things in your business. It's free money. But if you don't, while it's only a 1% interest rate, it's a 2-year amortization. That payment is going to be brutal depending on how much money you borrow. So it is really important. Should everybody have taken the PPP loan? I don't know. That's why if you follow me, you know that I gave away a 12-week cash flow budgeting system so that you can see what to defer, whether you dig a hole so deep, can I bounce back? Then where are sales going to go? Are we going to get 100% of our sales? Hell no. Unless you're one of those companies that are actually thriving right now, right? If you're a pizza place that had delivery already, you're a quick serve restaurant, especially one with a drive-through window, you are booming right now. While the rest of us, if we are full service, fine dining, saw 50, 75% drop in sales. And then we learned to pivot. We learned to do the curbside because that was regulation. We learned to do pickup. We learned to do delivery and brought on the apps and did all the things we might not have done in the past, because we had empty dining rooms and we were trying to keep people working, but we ended up getting rid of, if you will, firing, laying off, furloughing, don't care what you call it, almost all of our employees. Managers, owners were rolling up their sleeves, getting everything done. Oh, then we started to say, we need to become a grocerant, right? The Ciscos of the world made it easy for us, said, hey, here's product, which is great. Another revenue stream, especially because we weren't running out of food, right? There's plenty of it in the Ciscos and the US Foods and Benny Keys and Shamrocks of the world, the GFS. It wasn't in the grocery stores because, hey, over the years, 50% or more of our buying power was going to restaurants for food. So when that shut down, they were at a bind. So there's still plenty of food. It's just for commercial. And so all of a sudden, restaurants were learning to sell steaks and chicken and toilet paper and janitorial supplies and sanitation things and so on very successfully. Well, is there really, again, an after PPP? After the EIDL? Is there an after the Small Business Aid Program? Really, because all the clock starts ticking for after COVID-19. What is our new reality? What does it look like? So let's kind of walk through that a little bit. First of all, if you follow the news at all, it's depressing. At least for me it is. And I try and watch most of or some of the daily briefing that comes from the White House. Here comes a task force. Here comes the president. Here comes the information. What is it? And it changes every single day. And I pray every single day that there's fewer and fewer deaths, that we're getting out of this so we can reopen our economy, but in a safe way, not just open it up and bang. I don't know if you watched the news and saw there's an interview that was done with the mayor of Las Vegas. I don't know. I don't know her. I don't know. I think she's independent, so I can't offend either side of the aisle. Woman's batshit crazy. She wants to open up casinos right now. Casinos. Like, we're talking about, how do you social distance in a casino, right? We're going to play blackjack, one player to a table? I don't know how that works. But I get the idea. All these politicians, everyone wants to get people back to work, get them off the dole. Hey, we want to get out of our houses. We want to make money. There have been many, many businesses, mine included, that have been very hurt by this. And unfortunately, many have closed and will never reopen. So based on the task force saying, okay, the president's task force saying, how do we reopen? What do we do? Well, they propose these phases. And phase one, and I'm just taking the excerpts just from, literally from their PowerPoint presentation and just using that in this for now, for this example. They said phase one for the employers, for restaurants, you can operate under strict physical distancing protocols, 6 feet apart, 10 people. Look, you got a 250 seat restaurant. Is your life going to change when you can add 10 people to your restaurant? No, in fact, you're not going to bring in 10 people, because if you're a full service restaurant, those 10 people can't even pay for the one server you're going to put on. Right? The additional labor it takes to prepare for that. Well, so phase one isn't really an option for us. Oh, then wait a second. The other thing I want to ask you is, where's your food coming from? Because at this point, once you think about this, you know that bottled beer and draft beer, do you know that has a life to it? That expires in the sense it's going to turn bad. It won't kill anybody. It's not like food. It just won't taste the same, and you shouldn't sell it. Many of us have been closed long enough that product is probably not saleable. Then what are you going to do? You know, the broadline distributors have laid off many, 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 many tens of thousands of employees, just like every other company. But now, if they don't have the drivers, are you going to pick it up and say, hey, XYZ distributor, I need food? Well, we've cut our delivery driver staff in half, so you'll get it when we get it. Like, we can't magically bring people out. We don't know what demand is going to look like. And so you're not going to get delivery windows as in hours. You're going to delivery windows of a day. We're going to get there when we can get there because we only have so many people working at this time. What about product? Like, I don't know. I think it's 25% of all pork production is in the tank because of COVID swept through their plants. Right? I mean, so are you going to keep pork on your menu? So now all of a sudden, do we have to look at our menus? Can I get those products? Should I get those products? And better yet, for many, many decades, 3 to be exact, if that's many, many, I've been promoting 35 because your cooks make it the same way every single day. They over and over and over again. All these benefits. Well, now, should we be thinking about 10, 15, 20 item menus? Like, truly trimming down to only what the customers really buy, because we can simplify our kitchens, reduce the number of employees we have, reduce the SKUs of products we have to bring in, increase the freshness, the consistency, because we're doing it over and over and over again, keep the cash in the bank, that we improve our cash flow. Maybe we are looking at that 10, 15, 20 items max in our restaurants for our menus. So are you prepared? I mean, do we just click the switch and all of a sudden, do you have the cash to buy that food? Assuming that the majority of the product that is fresh, if you have not been operating, if you're coming from dark to open, it's gone. Now, if you've been operating with to-go and doing that, you've got some, but what if your sales double again, right? We've already lost 50 to 75%, but we get up to that, 50, 80% of what we used to do. Are you prepared for that? Oh, and then we got used to what? Employees, they're gone. Oh, remember that bitch and moan we had 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago? Oh, if I could only find an employee, somebody to work here. Well, holy crap. 26 million people have filed for unemployment in the first 5 weeks, right? First 4 weeks. We don't know what last week is, and we're in this week. So you think you're going to find good employees, but now, because of the $600 extra, I'm going to tell you, I was naive. I thought I'd have restaurant owners go to me, hey man, should I be worried? Will my employees come back? They're getting an extra $600 sitting at home, right? No fear of this, don't have to work. I'm like, hey, if you've got a great company culture, if they buy in, they're coming back. I still believe that in my hearts of hearts. But I can't tell you how many articles I'm reading, and not even the restaurant business, but any business. Employees are like, hey, you let us go. We're pissed off and we're making more money sitting at home. Now, I get it. That's nice. And they're probably youthful and not thinking straight, because at some point in time, when restaurants open up and other businesses open up, there's not going to be as many jobs left. So if they pass up on the opportunity, somebody else good will take that spot. Well, think about it. How are you going to reopen? How are we going to we don't just click. You got to have a plan. You got to have a cash flow, right? Budget. You got to have a budget for your next 12 months. What does the new reality look like? Because all of a sudden in phase 1, you get 10 people in your dining room. Ain't going to happen. So we got to stick with what we've got. And if you're a bar, my heart goes out to bars. We think we got it bad in restaurants. They're just shut down. Like there's what am I going to do? Start selling food if I didn't have food on my bar menu? Maybe you were lucky enough to be one of those places in like New Haven, Connecticut, that is known for pizza and is still shipping it all over the world because you've got a great name. But if you don't have food, right, everything's shuttered. And then how the hell do you take the PPP money? How are you going to get reopened? Because watch, we start talking about phase 2. Right? And they talk about flattening the curve. And oh, by the way, the recommendations are 14 days at a time. Now, each state, every governor is going to make their own decision. And we already can see that Georgia wants to just flip a switch as if nobody's sick. But here's the deal. Phase 2, restaurants can operate under moderate physical distance protocols. We can have 50 people. Let me ask you a question. If you got a restaurant with 150 seats, did you open that restaurant with sales figuring at 50 seats, or 150 with multiple turns of your business? We might not be able to afford the lease, the rent that we took out for this business on 50 people. And now think, this is technically 4 weeks in, right? 2 to 4 weeks into this phase process. And oh, wait a second, I got this PPP money. So am I bringing in all the employees as best I can to keep them working, doing nothing? Well, maybe you do, because that's what you have to do. Bars, hey, great bars, you get an opportunity to have some, what is this? May operate with diminished standing room occupancy where applicable and appropriate. What the hell does that mean? Hey, you can fill in enough people. It looks like a game of sticks and everybody's 6 feet apart. I don't know how that works. I'm still very concerned for the bar industry. Phase 3. For the employees, restaurants can operate under limited physical distancing protocols. Limited social distancing. What does that mean? I don't know. And then what freaks me out is, no matter what, if you've watched the news and they show how in Wuhan, China, where the one dude sat at a table and tables around him, how many people got sick just sitting there? Because I don't know about you, I not only worry about myself, but I worry about whether I were to infect somebody else. And if I were an employer, meaning a restaurant operator, do we worry about if we kill our guests or kill our employees? Like, it's tough. It's a moral dilemma. I got to feed my family. I got to pay my bills. I don't want to go under, and I got to keep people safe. So then bars, hey man, you may operate with increased standing room occupancy where applicable. I don't know what that means. I was talking with a restaurant owner just before our call, and he's got a bar inside of what is a full service restaurant. And in where he is in New York, they're saying, when you come back open, that bar will be closed. Like, nobody's sitting in there. Nobody's standing there. Nobody. So all of a sudden we have these limitations. How do we make this work? So here are some of the must-dos. Here are the must-dos. And I want to be very clear before I go over these. You've been given an opportunity to change. As I talked about, we have the challenges. How are we going to reopen? Where are we going to find the cash flow for that? Where are we going to find the employees if they're stuck on the dole and they don't want to come back? Well, you've been given kind of a really nasty gift. The nasty part is it's crushing us. The gift is you get to restart. You have an opportunity to say, I've been doing 50% of my sales, but instead of having 40, 50, 60, 70 employees, I've got 18. Now, while that doesn't pay the rent, I found that my team can be more efficient. And if I had a smaller restaurant, I probably could make this efficiency work, right? I could bring in some people that are still open are finding they're reporting to me. I'm on about a coaching call the other day that this one restaurant, one of my members found a server that was a rock star because she wanted to work and they were still open. And she goes, I'm finding really great people already. So there are some bright spots in here. So wait a second. You learned how to operate more efficiently. Roll up your sleeves. Now I get it. You had to break the rules that I teach, work on your business, not in it. You had to get back in the trenches. Probably didn't pay yourself. Probably worked 100 hours a week. Still are. You're flipping burgers. You're running it out to the drivers. You're doing everything you can. But you figured it out. You're resilient. You're a restaurateur. You sit there and say, wait a second, when I reopen, I'm not going to have 100% of sales. We were on pace as an industry to have a record. I'm not going to have 100% of my sales. What will I have? 50, 60, 70, 80% of my sales? Well, we know in phase one, you're not going to have 80% of your sales. We know phase two is going to be really difficult. I can only have 50 people in the room. Phase three, as fast as we can get to phase three safely, we might be able to get ourselves back up to that 80, 90%. Right? Oh, wait a second. We think, there'll be less competition. Yeah, there'll be less competition, but there's less people with money because there's already 26 million people filed for unemployment without last week's numbers, without this week's numbers. Right? So there may not be as many dollars to spend. So let's look at the must-dos. First of all, when we get reopened for business, curbside ain't going away. Right? We need it. Imagine your dining rooms being half full. Imagine your dining rooms only having 50 people in them. We still need that revenue. And oh, by the way, the consumer has been taught that curbside is something that works for them. What about takeout? Oh, takeout. You got to be prepared for takeout. By now, you should have found the right takeout containers, limited your menu to those things, only those things that go out well and arrive at their house or apartment well. Right? You've got that down. And what kind of double checks? The checklist of checking bags to make sure the orders are right before they go so you don't piss off a guest when they get home and go, hey, I ordered fries and there's no fries in this. What about delivery? A lot of restaurants now still fighting the delivery apps, and for good reason. I'll talk about that in a second, and have started their own delivery. Gotten the insurance, gone through. Well, that's not going away. Now, I told you, while I fought the big things, the Uber Eats, the DoorDashes, the Postmates, and so on, because so many of them have a 30% discount rate, right? Meaning they're chewing up 30% of that revenue. Yeah, I get it. Some of us raise our prices to offset that, but they're just getting 30% of a bigger number. Yes, you'll have a little more left over. That's a big number. Now, I told you during this pandemic, go for all four, whatever the four biggest ones in your area are. Why? Because when I look at my phone only has DoorDash on it. And yeah, I've been using it in the pandemic. And yeah, I've been trying to find every independent in my area that I can feed my family and support a local restaurant. It's been great. Now, because I only have DoorDash, if you were on Grubhub or Uber Eats or Postmates, I'm not going to find you. So I've told people, if you want to keep your employees working, if you want to slow down the bleed of your cash, you probably have to be on all four apps. Now, they gave us a deal for the next 30, 60, 90 days. Can't remember what it all is. But the fact of the matter is, because I need to be on somebody's phone, my customer's phone. I don't know what app they use, especially if you added it and they didn't know you were on DoorDash, right? Because if you've been on DoorDash for a year, well, they know you're on DoorDash. But if not, and many customers are now first onto the app, and they're only going to discover who's on there. Well, I'm hoping, I believe it's San Francisco. It's always San Francisco. They're always first with these things. I believe they put regulations in there that they can only charge 15%. Now, if we can get these things down to 15%, I think it's not only a win for the industry, it's a win for the consumer, but that makes sense for my business. At 30%, it's very difficult, especially if I'm running at a 78% prime cost. Typical restaurant runs a 78% prime cost. Total cost of goods sold plus total labor costs, including taxes, benefits, insurance, which means every time I sell that damn, dish, I'm losing money because it goes out in that. But now in today's market, with COVID restrictions, I'm keeping people employed. I got money to pay labor. Yeah, I'm going to bleed, but I'm going to bleed a lot slower. So it's been necessary. And to stay in contact with your guests, relevant that you're not gone away. Number two, the grocerant thing, right? Are you selling steaks and chicken and toilet paper and Janny and gloves and all these things that we have access to? Well, maybe you need to continue that. That if you're delivering food, why not make it convenient for them to order ground beef, to order steaks, to order chicken? That might be now a new part. Now, it may not be the most profitable thing in the world. Maybe you're only seeing a 40% markup, a 30% markup or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, it's still cash. You are still paying labor. You are finding a way to survive. Because in phase 1, 2, and even 3, we have limited diners. Now, then we look at, third point on here, strong sanitation and safety measures. We got a new reality. The new reality is what? Probably front of house is wearing gloves. They're doing it now, aren't they? Oh, wait a second. Are they wearing masks? And can you get them the right mask, the right protection? Gone are the days when we allowed people to pick up glassware like this, 4 Pilsner glasses with my fingers. Well, we already knew we couldn't do that because we could spread hepatitis. Now you watch, if your customers see you do this, oh my goodness, right? We've got these new restrictions. We have more labor to clean visibly and go through all these things. Are we prepared? Hey, wait a second. What about a menu? Does a customer want to touch that hard surface, right? Or are we now, our menu covers a thing of the past? Are we now printing our menus on a daily basis or going to a printer and having them done on newsprint so that they can be thrown away after every guest touches one? Like what are the new restrictions? What are the new socially acceptable policies, procedures, things that allow you to be a front? What about your employees, right? I mean, social distancing right now. Look, my daughter works for a drive-through coffee drink place we're on the West Coast, out of the West Coast. I'm in Phoenix, and they're crushing it. They're busy. The last 3 nights she's been called into work to get the line down. And she's loving it. But you can't social distance. Now, they wear masks. They have this incredible hand washing protocol. They no longer accept cash. They don't ever touch anything. They hand it over. They do all these things right. Very progressive, smart company. But man, when they're in the shack, if you will, this small quick serve only, out a window only kind of thing, they can't social distance. They're not 6 feet apart. And so think about our industry, 6 feet apart. How is that going to happen? Heck, your pass isn't even 6 feet apart from your expo to your wheel, right? I mean, these are real considerations to make. Do we have to alter the way our restaurants are set up? I don't know. Now, the other part I want to go back to, your opportunity to run efficiently. Goodbye are the bad employees. Hello to the good employees and new good employees. Do I need to run more efficiently and leaner? Do I reduce my menu so I can run fewer cooks in the kitchen? Do I reduce the number of tables I have, and not only for social distancing, but the fewer numbers of servers I have? Do I even build a wall to make my dining room smaller? Do I convert from a full service restaurant to quick serve? And if I'm anywhere that I've made a makeshift drive-through window, do I continue that and actually put in a proper drive-through system? because our culture is changing, and I've got to find ways to put butts in seats that don't exist. And this is not even addressing that other arm of hospitality, catering events. Like, when do those come back? When we get to 50? Maybe so. But are there any 300, 400 people weddings going to happen? When are arenas and sporting good events going to open up? And how does that affect all those restaurants that are by arenas? Right? I mean, this is really, really an unprecedented time. I've never seen anything like it. I don't think any of us have. I know we haven't. And last but not least, your opportunity is right now. So in the first 2 weeks, again, I was melancholy, down, sad, somber, sober. Like, man, we're losing people. Our industry's getting crushed. And it was. Then as week 3 hit, I'm saying, okay, we got opportunity. There's some money coming. People are learning to pivot. Still not really happy. Week 4 and 5, the pivot is on. Money's making delivery. We saw the money drive up. We've added more money, meaning the government has added more to PPP and the EIDL. So there's some hope. But wait a second. We know restaurants have closed. So guess what? You may have some downtime now. Now's the time to get your recipe costing cards done. Now's the time to get your shelf-to-sheet inventory done. Now's the time to put in your policies and procedures and systems to run more efficiently, your budgets, your sales forecasts, controlling your numbers on a daily basis, automatic par levels, right? Doing all these things that we thought, oh, I don't need to do that. Mistakes we could make that robbed us of profit, but we made enough. Well, your revenues are going to be lower. Your costs are going up. If you don't think your food costs are going up when these distributors are taking a bath right now, you're crazy. If you think insurance costs aren't going up, you're crazy. If you think that $15 minimum wage is only for coast to coast, the big cities, you're crazy. Because if anything, living wage is going to be a big thing that's going to sweep across this country. And so I don't care. I think the tip credit states are in trouble. $2.13 an hour, say goodbye. Now, how fast that happens, I don't know, but you know that the movement, you can't stop this. This movement, it's moving. That pebble is rolling down, down the hill, and it's picking up steam. It's picking up dirt, mud, and it's becoming a big, almost like a snowball going down and creating an avalanche. So those of us who are slow to react, it will be too late. Because when you can come out of this post-COVID, right after COVID, which is 18 months from now. But if we talk about the new reality in 2, 3, 4 weeks from now, when states start to reopen our industry, you have got to be on your game. You will have had to figure out how to pivot and keep it. You will have to figure out how to become more efficient. You will have to buy better, schedule better, control things better. You need systems for everything in your business. Now, somebody asked me the other day, oh, hey, I would like you to come speak to a group of restaurant owners, and I'd love for you to teach them what they need to do today, how it's different. I'm like, different? You're shitting me. It's everything I've been teaching since 2003. Systems to allow you to impose your will without being there. A system, a process, a way to doing anything and everything in your business. To put those systems in place to act like the chain restaurants, but instead love our guests, love our employees, but make money. To make every penny of profit you can on every dollar that comes in the door. To run and not a 65% prime cost of 55 or under. Life-changing money. Real work. But all too many people said, I don't want to do the work. Well, guess what? My message is more relevant today than ever. If you've been running systems right now, like, hey, David, I've been following you. I've been putting systems in place. Well, then you better do them better. Wherever you stopped, because you didn't get them all done. There's no way in hell you did, because there is no finish line. There's always something else. Are we on dollars per labor hour worked? Are we doing automatic par levels? Are we re-engineering our menu every single quarter with accurate, up-to-date recipe costing cards in your POS mix? Like, are we doing these things on a routine basis? Do we actually use the key item report and the weigh sheet to prevent theft and stop doing dumbass things in our kitchen that rob us blind of profits? Are we budgeting going into the week? Going into next week on budget with purchasing, going into next week on budget with labor? Are we just bringing people in and praying we're busy? Are we still ordering, looking at things? Oh, I need 10 of those. We need a system, a process, a way. We have to be efficient. So if you've been operating with systems already, you need to get better. If you have not been operating systems, then right now, in the middle of this shutdown, this COVID restriction, is the time we start working on shelf-to-sheet inventory, recipe costing cards, budgeting, those things you've not wanted to do. And I don't care if you're working 80 hours a week on the line because you threw on an apron to survive. Then you've got to find 20 more hours a week to start working on these things, to involve other employees, because now is the time for you to lead. Now, the Restaurant Prosperity Formula, right? If you've read my book, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that the number one thing, the number one piece of that formula where we started is leadership. And now is your time to lead. Not only lead your team, but lead in your community to be the best restaurant you can possibly be, to be around. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't jump on it right now and you are slow to come to the party, then you're going to borrow that PPP money. You're going to spend that PPP money. Even if you get it 100% waived because you hit your 75% some magical way by overpaying people or bringing people in to pick their rear ends, and you operate the very next week after those 2.5 months of free payroll, if you will, and you operate the same way, you will bleed just as fast as you used to. No, faster. And all of a sudden, all that work, all this getting through this pandemic ain't gonna be worth anything. So if I can shake you right now and say, when is the time to change? It is now. Look, if you don't know what I mean by systems, make sure you watch videos on this on my YouTube channel. If you don't know what systems you need to have in place, go to davidscottpeters.com, click on my free restaurant evaluation, spend 10 to 15 minutes, no strings attached, no phone call coming your way. And you put the information in for your restaurant. And when you're done, you'll have a 25-page detailed results on what your restaurant is doing well, what it's not doing well, where your opportunities are, what systems you need to put in place, and how much money is on the table. If you're ready to make that change. Because here's the deal. There is no post-COVID-19. Don't let anybody tell you that it's around for the next 18 months. Until we have a vaccination, it is here. So what can we do to not only survive, but thrive? And that used to be my deal for you as an independent operator, to survive the chain restaurants. Hell, I don't care about the chain restaurants. I care about you, your family, your employees, your customers, because remember, we're here for them. We're supposed to make money, and now's the time to figure out how to make it work. Look, if you have any questions, need some help, make sure you go to davidscottpeters.com. There are 2 things you can do there real fast. One is, again, take me up on the free restaurant evaluation. There's also a button. If you want a half an hour free consult with me, I'd be happy to talk to you. Go out there, fight the fight, make me proud, make your family proud, get her done. Thanks, everybody.